All right, it is now 4 p.m. We will call the special call meeting of the Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors to order. Tuesday, August 14, 2018, main conference room, County Administration Building, 1 Center Street, Chatham, Virginia, 24531. Roll call, please.
Mr. Barber. Mr. Blackstock.
Present.
Mr. Davis.
Present.
Mr. Farmer.
Here.
Dr. Miller.
Here.
Mr. Scares.
All right.
Okay, and I'm going to ask which location you're calling from.
I am calling from 1003 Evans Street, Morehead City, North Carolina.
All right, and Mr. Warren.
Here.
All right.
All right, we're down to approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Blackstock, seconded by Dr. Miller. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, roll call.
All right, Mr. Blackstock.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mr. Farmer.
Yes.
Dr. Miller.
Here. Present. Yes.
Mr. Scares.
Yes.
Mr. Warren.
Yes. We're down to agenda item 4, approval of Delta Response Team's general contract for services. You don't get an update?
I'll take it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the board's aware, we've been in negotiations for at least a month with Delta Response Team to provide backup response services, emergency medical response services in the county. This would provide a permanent truck, which is already in HURT, as well as 2 backup trucks to be stationed at other points in the county. We have been in negotiations trying to bring this cost down and see what we can do in-house to help offset some of their charges. For instance, we have negotiated their occupancy of all 3 of their stations, where the county is going to be covering those costs, which is a net reduction in their contract. We also are currently have negotiated one, and we'll be negotiating other trucks. We will be able to supply them trucks, ambulances, which our cost is about half of their charged cost, which is saving us a good amount of money. We've also negotiated some things relative to the call volume and average payment per call that they receive. They basically have a let's call it a hurdle rate, a minimum that they have to maintain in number of calls and cost per call in order to make this a viable contract for them financially. If it falls below that number, it becomes a negotiation back at the table with them. And if it goes over that number considerably for a series of months, we negotiate back with them to get a cut of the extra revenue. Those are not defined outcomes in this contract. What it does define is if these things happen, it triggers a new conversation. We won't have any sufficient data probably for 6 months on call volume, or for at least 6 months on call volume and revenue amounts, because it takes so long for those things to process through the system. But I would consider 6 months from the beginning of this contract that we would be taking a look to see how the volume is keeping up with the expectations. This contract will begin September 1st, and it will replace the service that Cool Branch and Blair's Rescue Squads have been providing for us for what will be 90 days. These 2 departments have been compensated for running all of our backup calls. It has been a tremendously positive relationship. In fact, it's gone on without any hiccups whatsoever, and I think we all have a greater respect for the needs of our community right now and for the services that our volunteers provide. But these guys, this DRT contract is to support that volunteer system when our volunteers are unable to answer calls. So this is a 3-year agreement beginning September 1st, and myself, Mr. Slint, and Mr. Hunt can answer any questions you may have.
And the reason for today's special call meeting is that if they are going to be operational by September 1, they couldn't wait an additional week for next week's board meeting, because they're going to have to ramp up and hire people, and they need to give those new employees
sufficient time to give notice at their current jobs, and they didn't want to take on that risk without a signed document of hiring individuals.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the board?
I assume paragraph 4 on page 2 or 7 is what you described and does earlier about grounds is laid out in case we need to go back and negotiate.
Yes, sir. And we negotiated that last week twice, and then finally today.
So it's hadn't changed.
It's not changed since the first time. That's correct.
Other questions from board members?
We don't have 3 trucks in the county.
Fleet,
Mr. Palmer?
fleet is comparable to what we have with Regional 1. Looks the same, maybe minus the QRV.
Correct. In fact, I don't remember, I may be wrong, but I don't remember Regional 1 being required to have a backup trucks on standby.
Chris, you want to jump in here?
Yes, we have, Region 1 had an ALS provider in the QRV. This requires them to have an ALS provider in every ambulance.
Okay.
So it spreads our ALS providers, gives us a little more.
Good, thank you. Anyone else?
Just had a quick one. What were the locations that these services will be located at?
Mount Cross Volunteer Fire, or Mount Cross, is it Fire or Rescue? Fire and Rescue. Mount Cross, Chatham Fire Department, and Hurt.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions?
I'm sure we did our due diligence and contacted references.
Yes, sir, with these folks, yes, sir, I called them before we ever, called some of the references before we ever picked them up on a part-time or temporary basis, yes, sir.
And they have been auditioned for the last how many months?
Oh.
3.
3 years, yes, sir. And their owners are also volunteers in another county. They understand volunteerism. They actually will work to recruit volunteers and so forth as well for us. So, I think it's a strong group of people.
I've heard positive comments from the Hurt area and the northern end, which basically is the coverage we have. So,
Yes, sir.
hope it continues. I also think we need to probably recognize, there's a special recognition to the 2 departments, step up to the plate, and help the county when we were on that.
Anyone else? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the contract as presented.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Blackstock, seconded by Dr. Miller. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Blackstock?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Farmer?
Yes.
Dr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Scarce?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes. That was the only item of business that we would cover under the special called meeting tonight. There is one thing I'd like to do and expand a little bit on what Mr. Blackstock said. I had it in my memo to say this. We have Scotty Adams in attendance tonight from Pool Branch. I don't see him here, but from with Blair's. Well, we do want to extend a hearty thank you and appreciation for those 2 volunteer branches picking up and covering us and helping out, in a real time of need, covering the citizens. We really appreciate that very much from the county standpoint. And I didn't have any complaints about service or anything, so obviously you all did a great job, and we really do truly appreciate it. That goes with all of our volunteers. It's so important throughout the county that we have our volunteer programs. We want to make sure we're on record from this board that we truly appreciate y'all's efforts and your service. And we've got an open ear to listen to whatever we can hear from you all. There being no other business to come before this board tonight, I declare the meeting adjourned.